ready to dive into The Little Prince. It's amazing how a story that seems so simple can make you think so much.
Yeah, it really makes you think. It seems like a children's book, but it's really deep.
Right. You said you wanted to find the hidden meanings, how it speaks to kids and adults so differently.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it so timeless, the mix of fantasy and philosophy. And we'll also get into the mystery about the author, too.
Okay, so we start with our narrator. He's a kid who can't get adults to understand him, which I think a lot of us can relate to.
Absolutely. That feeling when you're trying to explain your inner world, to have people take your imagination seriously, it's something we've all felt.
Hmm.
And Saint-Exupéry, he captures it perfectly with that drawing of the boa constrictor.
Oh, that drawing. I can still picture it so clearly, the boa swallowing the elephant. But the adults, all they see is a hat.
It's the perfect way to show how differently kids and adults see things.
Yeah.
Kids, they get symbolism, they feel the truth in it. Adults, well, we tend to focus on what's literal, what's practical. We miss the deeper meaning.
We lose that sense of wonder, that ability to connect with the heart of things. It makes you wonder, when do we start building those walls around our imagination?
It happens slowly, I think. We learn to value logic and reason, which is important, of course, but sometimes it comes at a cost, you know? We sacrifice some of our intuition, our creativity.
And then, bam, our narrator crash lands in the Sahara Desert. Talk about a huge change, a vast, empty desert, the last place you'd think to find a whimsical little prince.
It's almost like that empty desert is a blank canvas. No distractions. It forces the narrator, and us as readers, to find a new way of seeing things.
It's like someone hit the reset button on his grown-up perspective. And then there he is, this small, mysterious figure just standing there in the middle of nowhere. And what does he say? Not hello, not where am I, but draw me a sheep.
Such a simple request,
Yeah.
but it says so much. You can hear the innocence in it, a kind of trusting vulnerability, but it also hints at something deeper, like he's looking for something more than just the
Well,
ordinary.
he doesn't want just any sheep, right? He's got specific ideas about how it should be.
Exactly. He's very particular about it. It's not really about the actual drawing. It's about capturing the soul of the sheep, its true nature. That idea of searching for what lies beneath the surface, it's something we'll see again and again in this book.
And this sheep, it means something important to the little prince, doesn't it?
It does. Think about how much care he puts into taking care of his rose, how worried he is about the baobabs on his little planet. The sheep, it's kind of like that, it represents that same need to nurture, to take responsibility. He's scared that if he's not careful, his sheep might eat his precious rose.
Which is why that box the narrator draws becomes so important. It's a safe space for something he loves. Okay, so about the prince's planet, can we talk about asteroid B612? It's unbelievably tiny with those volcanoes and that one very special rose.
And this is where Saint-Exupéry brings in real science. He tells us about a Turkish astronomer who was the first to see this tiny asteroid through his telescope. Can you imagine that? A real astronomer searching the universe, and he finds this miniature world.
But people didn't believe him, right? They dismissed him just because of how he was dressed. It's kind of like how those adults reacted to the narrator's drawing.
Exactly. Just like the narrator struggled to be understood, the astronomer who discovered B612 hit a wall too. It shows this bigger theme of blindness, of adults dismissing what they can't immediately understand or categorize. They wanted proof, facts, a sensible suit, before they could even consider it as a possibility.
They miss out on the magic, the wonder of it. And speaking of magic, we can't forget about that rose. She's beautiful, proud, and, well, a bit vain, let's be honest. Covered in thorns, but the little prince is totally captivated by her.
She's like the physical embodiment of how complicated love can be. She's alluring, for sure, but also able to hurt. Just like real love, she needs care, attention, even a bit of sacrifice. And the little prince, in all his innocence, is completely devoted to her.
But she also makes him frustrated, right? Like when she talks about tigers, even though there are no tigers on their planet, he's confused.
Their relationship is a lot like those early stages of love, when we're just trying to figure out another person's complexities. In the end, the little prince leaves, feeling hurt and disillusioned. But he learns something really important.
Then what's that?
That you can't judge based only on appearances or words. They can be misleading. The little prince realizes, maybe a bit too late, that he should have paid more attention to what the rose did, to how she showed her love through her scent and her beauty.
And he carries that lesson with him as he goes from planet to planet, and each encounter, it's like a glimpse into a different side of human nature.
Yeah, each planet is like this tiny stage, right? And the characters he meets, they're almost like exaggerated versions of ourselves, highlighting these tendencies we have And it's funny, but also kind of sad at the same time.
It is. You've got the king who has no one to rule over, the conceited man who just wants everyone to clap for him, the businessman so busy counting stars. It's almost laughable, but there's this underlying sadness to it, too.
It's satire, but with heart, like that businessman. He's so focused on counting those stars, claiming something he can't even touch, that he completely misses how beautiful the night sky is.
It's like when you're so caught up in your own to-do list that you forget to even look up and see the sunset, you know? We've all been there.
Totally. I think Saint-Exupéry isn't just trying to be funny. He's showing us ourselves, how we can get so caught up in chasing things that won't make us happy in the end.
And then you have the lamplighter, faithfully lighting and putting out his lamp as his tiny planet spins ridiculously fast.
The lamplighter, even though he's stuck in what seems like a pointless routine, there's this quiet dignity about him. He finds a purpose in his task, even a beauty in that cycle of light and dark.
He's not questioning his orders or anything. He's just doing what he's supposed to. Makes you wonder if, in a way, he's found a kind of peace that the other characters are missing.
Maybe so. He's definitely not driven by those same insatiable desires that the others seem to be ruled by. There's a lesson there, I think, about finding meaning in the things we do, even the ordinary, everyday things.
And then we have the little prince arriving on Earth, this huge, seemingly endless planet compared to his own tiny asteroid. But he still feels just as alone.
That's something a lot of us understand, that feeling of being lonely, even when you're surrounded by people.
Yeah.
It shows how real connection, it's not just about being physically close to someone, it's something more.
And that brings us to that scene with the snake, which always gives me chills.
Yeah, the snake's a powerful symbol, usually connected to danger, temptation. It definitely foreshadows how the story ends, but it also says something about us as humans, that even when we feel vulnerable, we still crave connection.
Because even the snake, which we usually associate with being solitary, even it admits to feeling lonely.
Right, and that just emphasizes how loneliness is something we all experience, no matter who we are, where we are, even how much power we have. It's in that shared vulnerability, that longing, that we can actually find real connection.
Which leads us to one of the saddest moments in the book when the little prince finds that whole field of roses.
Imagine how heartbroken he is, realizing that something you thought was one of a kind, something truly special, might not be so unique after all. It's something we all go through, that feeling of disillusionment, whether it's with love, friendship, or just the way we see the world.
It's like that saying, there are plenty of fish in the sea. But even though you know it's true, it still hurts when you feel like you've lost something precious.
And that's exactly where the fox comes in with his wisdom. Remember, he tells the little prince that it's not about being one of a kind. It's about the effort you put in to make a relationship special, to make it your own.
It's the time you spend, the care you give, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. That's what takes something ordinary and makes it extraordinary. And that leads us to that famous line, what is essential is invisible to the eye.
It's about looking deeper than what's on the surface, seeing that the things that truly matter are the things we can't see. Love, friendship, compassion, those are the things that give our lives meaning.
And those intangible things, they usually come from shared experiences, from overcoming challenges together, even from disagreeing and making up. It's about being committed to seeing past those little imperfections. That's what's important.
Exactly. It's choosing to focus on the beauty in the everyday, to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. The little prince, through all his encounters with the fox, the roses, even the narrator, he's starting to realize that real connection takes effort, patience, and more than anything, a willingness to see with your heart.
It's that idea, seeing with your heart, that really sticks with you throughout the whole story.
It really does. And it's interesting how that connects to the ending. The way the little prince decides he has to go back to his rose, but it's all kind of mysterious, right?
It really is. Like when he talks about meeting at a certain place under a star, it's almost like you could interpret it in different ways. Like, did he actually leave, or is it more symbolic?
Exactly. Did the snake fight actually kill him? Or was that a metaphor for him leaving behind a part of himself? Maybe that childlike innocence you can't ever really get back?
It's a question people have been debating forever, and I like that Saint-Exupéry just leaves it open for us to decide. But what always strikes me is how the narrator reacts. Yeah, he's devastated, but there's this thread of hope, too, this feeling of still being connected.
Absolutely. The narrator, he finds comfort in remembering how the little prince laughed, in looking at the stars and almost sensing him there. It's bittersweet, you know? Like you feel the sadness of losing someone, but you're also celebrating the fact that love and friendship, they stay with you. It suggests that the connections we make, They go beyond just being physically present.
It makes me think of how we remember people we've lost. They're still alive in our memories, in the stories we tell, even in the stars we make wishes on. And it's impossible to talk about The Little Prince without talking about what happened to Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, how he disappeared.
It adds another layer to the story, for sure. Just like the Little Prince, he vanished without a trace, his plane going down somewhere over the ocean. It was a mystery for decades, and it's almost like it echoes those themes of exploration, of facing the unknown, that are all over his most famous book.
And then, just like in the story, they found his plane. It's almost as if the story itself reached through time to give us some closure. A real-world reminder of those mysteries that never truly go away.
And it reinforces that message of hope, don't you think? Just like finding that plane brought a sense of peace, the Little Prince, it still gives comfort and inspiration to people all over the world.
It reminds us that some stories, some messages, they're timeless.
Exactly. And maybe that's why The Little Prince still means so much to so many people. It reminds us to use our imaginations, to love, to hold on to that childlike wonder that helps us find meaning in a world that can be really confusing sometimes. It encourages us to look deeper, to see with our hearts, and to treasure those connections that truly make life worth living.
And as we wrap up our own little journey into The Little Prince, I'll leave you with this. If you could actually meet the Little Prince, what would you say to him? What would you want to share with him? Or maybe even more importantly, what do you think he might say to you?